Hi pretty people! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anna and I like to talk about books. And after being vacant kind of all summer, I'm finally getting back to you guys. And at the beginning of the week I asked in a poll if you would rather have a reading update or a book haul, and from the people that voted, most of you wanted a book haul that I had long promised to come because my birthday was at the end of May. It is now end of July and I still didn't film you my birthday book haul, but I have the stack of books right here. It doesn't look much to you right now because I'm sitting on the floor and you can't see half of the books, but let me just show you. There's quite a few. Alright, so I pretty much split the books in 3 categories and we are going to start with the new classics I bought. I bought 3 new Black Spine classics from Penguin, and let me tell you, they're thick, at least 2 of them are. The first one would be Charles Dickens' Great Expectations, and I will be honest with you here, I don't really know what the book is about. I know we're following our main character called Pip, and he's like growing up and being educated, and I don't know, and I know he meets an escaped convict on a graveyard, and this encounter is going to change his life and change the way he thinks about life. And I know that this is always praised for being so critical of society and societal standards, the boxes we are constantly being put in, and how we are being treated depending on where we come from. So yeah, I am excited to get to this one. I have wanted to read Dickens for a while and I haven't come around to it, but this is definitely one of his shorter novels, so I feel like this would be a great start to get into Dickens. The second classic I got is this thick boy. It's War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace is obviously about wartime. It's about 3 young people living in Russia. It takes place around the time when Napoleon marches on Russia. We follow our 3 main characters called Andrei, Pierre and Natasha, and we will see how this war will affect their life. And I don't know, I guess to put it best, the premise on the back says it is a novel of conflict and love, birth and death, free will and fate, and human life in its imperfection and grandeur. Yeah, I am kind of excited to be met with quite a lot of misery in humanity in this book. Don't ask me why I like to torture myself, but I do. So this is definitely on my rather immediate TBR, even though it is long as hell. The next one I have here is Crime and Punishment. This book is by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I am so sorry if I'm mispronouncing all these names. Crime and Punishment is about a young man committing a murder, and at first he doesn't feel any remorse or regret. He just goes about his life being like, well, happens. Because yeah, murder just happens sometimes. But no, he's obviously being followed or chased by the investigators of the murder, and as the novel progresses he is kind of, you know, charred back to reality by his own conscience and is starting to feel bad, which is kind of making everything spin out of place for him and everything gets kind of chaotic. That's all I know about the novel. I haven't read it yet, but I am excited to add these beautiful 3 Penguin Black Spines to my classics shelf. So yeah, I'm happy I got them. By the way, guys, I don't know if you've noticed, my mind is kind of all over the place right now. I have not taken my ADHD medication and it's kind of spiraling. So this video might be a bit chaotic, but we're just gonna go with the flow. So, next book. This one is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. Once again, I pretty much know nothing about books. You know what? I always feel like a book haul is so boring for you guys because I'm someone who doesn't like to know too much about a book before getting into the book and actually reading it. So I feel like whenever I have to talk about books that are on my TBR because I'm doing a book haul, or I don't know, I'm telling you what I'm planning on reading, what I haven't read yet, I feel like it's so boring for you guys. I hope it is not. I try to make it interesting. But yeah, back to Beartown. Beartown is actually about a city sunken in snow and the population is kind of going back and the town is shrinking, but there's this new special revival just around the corner, but then something bad happens, like a brutal act is what we're being told from the summary on the back. And so I guess this is a crime novel and we're focusing on one main character, and it's a young man, and he basically saw something that he doesn't know to speak up about or not, or he's unsure if he should speak up about it or not. And I want to read this book because Carolyn Marie Reeds, you probably know her. She's a booktuber as well. She has a bit of a bigger reach than I do, but I adore her videos and I adore her as a person. I have been able to chat with her a little bit in the past and she's just the cutest human ever. But yeah, she loves this book to death, and whenever Carolyn gives a book recommendation, I very much trust it. She said this book made her bawl her eyes out. And if you've seen any of my videos, you know I'm a girl for books that make me cry. So obviously I had to spend my birthday gift cards and book money on this one. And next one is actually a book I didn't buy. It was a gift from a very dear friend of mine. Hannah, if you're seeing this, thank you for the book. This is called Second Place by Rachel Cusk. And this book I actually have read already, so I'm just gonna give you a little bit of an overview. It's about a middle-aged woman who lives on a marsh, so like very far from a city, very much cottagecore-esque vibes in this book. And she, as a young woman, very much obsessed over this artist because she stumbled upon his paintings when she was in a very... what is English? In a phase of her life where a lot of big changes happened, and she kind of saw herself and her soul reflected in his art pieces, and she kind of started obsessing over this artist back then, which was like 30 years ago. And now she lives out on this march in a like small farmhouse, and she and her husband have this, well, let's say it, a guest house on their property, and from time to time people stay there to work. A lot of artists, especially like writers, painters, musicians, whatever, whoever. A lot of people just find inspiration in the nature and they offer their guest house for people to stay there. And she has written to this artist many times over time, and at some point he does actually show up. And this whole book is a fever dream of a stream of consciousness, which I always find super interesting because it's like looking into someone's mind. It's such a special way of storytelling. I don't know, it just fascinates me. But yeah, anyways, this book then deals with the visit of this artist that this woman has just kind of, well, she's built a personality for him in her head over all those years in the past and from the few letters and emails they exchanged, but he's not exactly what she expected of him to be. And that obviously comes with a few problems, and we get an insight in, yeah, well, the brain of a middle-aged woman who has to deal with expectations not being met. That's, that's Second Place. And then the next book from my second category, which is just random books, is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which is a very cute fantasy novel that is taking place in like the modern world that I've heard so much positive things about from like the entire bookish community. And I am such a sucker for a cute witchy book. So I knew I had to get this. This is basically a world where there is like witches exist, and witches are not allowed to kind of pool together. So a witch is kind of forced to live alone between non-magical people, because when witches do like gather, or like if they spend too much time near each other, the magic kind of pools in that place, and it just becomes too much, and the risk of exposing the witches is a lot greater than when they are on their own. Which is why the witching community has decided that witches are not allowed to spend a lot of time with each other, live with each other. They're made to kind of be isolated from other witches. But the young witch, who is our main character in this book, gets an invitation basically to be an educator and kind of a babysitter for 2 children who have some irregular powers, and she goes to live in this house, and she takes a job even though she knows she's not really allowed to. And yeah, we watch her untangle a lot of life questions while working with those 2 children that really teach her a lot, and we also get a little bit of a romance spin in this book too. Just a quick question. I have been writing a lot of poetry lately, and I am thinking about sharing it here, but I'm not sure if you would be interested. Just let me know. I would definitely post it as shorts, not in like video content, but yeah, if you want to see that, please just leave me, I don't know, a pen as an emoji in the comments. Really appreciate that. And now for category number 3. I have quite a few books. Most of these books are for category number 3. If you don't know yet, I actually think I haven't talked about him much on this channel, but I adore Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman has written, for example, The Graveyard Book, or Coraline is from him, American Gods, if you've heard of it. And Neil Gaiman is a very famous writer from the is he from the US? Or is he from the UK and moved to the US? Or is he from the US and moved to the UK and moved back to the US? Something like that. No, I think he's an American. No, he's American, but he has lived in London for quite a while, or in the UK for sure. No, I obsess over his interviews. First of all, the man has a voice so deep, it's just soothing to listen to him. Second, he gives incredible writing advice for any young writers out there who do want to try themselves at, well, mixing words together to make something. And third of all, he's just, I don't know, he has a way of talking that inspires. And so I've watched every interview that you can find online with Neil Gaiman, and I've listened to podcasts where he was a guest and everything. And I also have Coraline on my shelf, and I love Coraline. Coraline's amazing. And I actually did read The Graveyard Book a few years back. So now that I've showed you, the first 2 books are both The Graveyard Book. This one is the children's edition that I have read a few years ago. But what I did not know, there was an adult version of the book. I did not know it. And now I have both. So I am sometime soon gonna reread the children's edition, and then I'm gonna read the adults edition. But to give you an overview what this book is about, we do follow this little boy. He's our main character. He's a totally ordinary boy, except for him living on a graveyard and being raised and educated by ghosts. And this book is just like, I've only read the children's version so far, and it touches on the topic of death and how to deal with it with children in a fantastic and an incredible way. And I'm just so excited to see what he did with that story to package it for adults in comparison to the first one. I mean, everyone should read the children's edition too. I honestly think most children's books are perfect content for adults, because sometimes adults tend to overcomplicate everything, and sometimes it opens your eyes if you just read something designed for kids, because it brings you back to a way of thinking that you have kind of lost in growing up and functioning in a society that just puts so many rules and boxes and structures on you that you maybe not even want. So I always recommend going back to your favorite children's books and seeing what you can take from them now in a retrospective. So yeah, the first two Gaiman books are both The Graveyard Book. And then I got, also I didn't buy them, I got them as a gift, or rather as an exchange for a motorcycle helmet. The entire book series of the American Gods. I'm so excited! I am so excited to have them on my shelf. So basically this is a 5-book series, and I think the most famous one of them is obviously American Gods. And this series, honestly, that's the thing now again. I know I've told you so many times, I don't like knowing too much about books, so I'm not gonna give you an overview of every single one of them, because obviously if I look up what's happening in the 3rd, 4th, 5th book, I'm gonna spoiler myself, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just gonna tell you that this is basically about old gods from American folklore being forgotten over new, well, gods, or let's say powers like modern technology, and that causes like a rift in the stability of the realm, and there's a war brewing between these old and new powers, and it's about who can maybe win, who has their hand on top, who has the bigger fist. What? I'm looking for a saying, but the English isn't Englishing. But yeah, it's basically folklore and mythological happenings and a mix of fantasy and modern world, and exciting times. So as a huge fan of all things mythology, I am so excited for these. And also just them coming from Neil Gaiman makes it even better. So these they'll go on my shelf now. And that's it already, guys. That's all the books I have acquired in the past time. Some of them were gifted to me, some of them I bought, some of them I got through gift cards that were gifted to me. And I definitely want to get back to like filming videos regularly again. I also have something planned for next week already, so click the bell if you don't want to miss it. But I want to ask you, what are you reading currently? What would you maybe love to see on this channel in like the coming weeks? And I appreciate every feedback I get from you. I appreciate every comment I get, and if you want to tell me anything, please just leave me a comment. I mean, I do have this channel to chat with you guys about books, mainly because I want to chat about books without being told to like shut up. But I also really love to chat with you guys and just like exchange opinions and recommendations and being excited and having a passion. Alright, that's it. Click the like button, subscribe if you're not, and I wish you the best day ever wherever you are. Bye!